at the same time treating and healing your body because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Alleluia Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Alleluia from all shops around.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Welcome once again and thank you for joining us on this third day of August 2022. It's a Wednesday, Women Crash Wednesday, midweek happenings. I call it all that because I believe it is what it is. My name is Philomena Mastiko and I am with Robert Kirabo, Nyonyintono and Felix NKUNDA. Well, I guess Uganda is really waking up in such a good mood because we do have another gold in our books, and I'm talking about the Jacob Kiplimo gold that he brought back home after winning the 10,000 meters at the ongoing Birmingham 2022 Commonwealth Games. I must say that Uganda is taking quite an influence in all these 2022 Commonwealth Games. I am hearing a lot of Uganda here and there. I'm, hearing a lot of medals, and trust you me, this news makes me happy, just like any other Ugandans. I feel like maybe August is starting off on a good note, or, maybe helping us to forget the bad stories we've had for the last couple of days. Of course, this is in line with the extreme weather events we have been witnessing. So, like they already say, every cloud has a silver lining. I don't know what you think about this, Robert. Good morning.
A lovely morning to you, Mastiko, and of course, the man with specs, Felix NKUNDA. Good morning. And our viewers, thank you. Well.
I'll show up without the specs someday, I guess.
Well,
I don't want you to put me taxi.
It's still late for that, but...
Then Robert will say the man with the big eyes. He has said that before, so...
Well, it's good to start a morning with laughter. Have a smile, cheer up, and that's what we do. Apart from being very informative, setting the agenda of the day, we also help you get that mood. And that's what we do with my colleagues here. But I will say, yes, yesterday I really enjoyed watching this Ugandan making it, and there's such a big distance. At one time I saw him even look behind.
He kind of lost track of the people he was in the rest.
I was like, who are these guys, I was like, yes, that is the Pearl of Africa. Keep it going. Hey. Yes, keep it going. I was in that mood. I was enjoying myself.
But can Kirabo run?
I figure that would be
I'm just saying, Kirabo, it's okay.
I feel like Felix, you can't run faster.
I'm sure that you
will see, there are certain things we have in Nakasero. There's a playground there.
Yes.
Just one weekend we try out, and you will see how I cruise and look back, and Felix will be
Robert, it shouldn't be you, because I remember that time when we were headed towards the Uganda Matters Day. I did put you and Mollen, who is not with us this morning, I put you to a challenge, and I asked you to join me in the walk to Namgongo. I don't know where the both of you disappeared to, but so it will be very hard for you to convince me that you can take part in any kind of track and field activity.
Well, Felix will not even see where I've passed. I want to guarantee you.
I can't see clearly where you've passed, and for reasons for reasons
But I just liked the way Jacob did it, yes. That range he gave others, and he wasn't like panting, or he was showing like, yes, even if it was more, maybe I would go. So kudos to Uganda, and I'm very pleased. 2 goals so far. Well, that is very great. But also yesterday we saw DP president, that is Norbert Mao, being sworn in as an ex-official of parliament. And there is a way he was welcomed. Members of parliament seemed so excited, so happy. I was like, hey, the man has come in, has been welcomed with vibe.
Yes.
Like, okay. Because Soroti East, the MP-elect, that is Soroti East, Herbert Ariko, was also being sworn in.
Yes.
But the mood was totally different. It was like, this is ordinary. We see members of parliament coming in and swearing in, though he won through a by-election. But when it came to Norbert Mao, right from the entry, the excitement and all that, I was like, well, Uganda and that excitement, is it positive, negative? But we hope and we wish him the best. We are yet to see what he will do during his tenure in that office.
Although there were also some other mixed reactions from a number of MPs now wondering, so how is this going to work out? Having a whole DP General President getting into one of the positions, of course, under the NRM ruling party. But again, sometimes I want to believe that your responsibilities are your responsibilities. It has nothing to do with the party. But again, I have been told and advised by these two gentlemen that politics is politics. You just cannot run away from it. Good morning, Felix.
Well, good morning, Philo, and definitely the big man, Uncle Bob. Hope you guys are well. It's midweek. Definitely there's much that we've been able to surpass. Monday with the Blues, Tuesday, I don't know, with the Greys, and later on Wednesday is what we're living. And definitely the Wednesday does come with a little bit of love, care, and intense. It does, it does.
Who has promised Felix an outing?
Well, I'm talking about love in terms of the crushing that we normally do here for the women, and clearly that comes with Wednesdays. And of course, when you're in Wednesday, you can clearly peep into the weekend. I'm guessing it's just about 1 day away or 2 days away from the weekend. So definitely this is
when you round off.
Absolutely. you must be able to do that actually, because Friday for people like Kirabo is definitely a weekend.
It's a day off for him.
Yeah, so even the way he dresses, the way he walks, and he's in spending mood.
It has an impact with what is in my pocket sometimes.
Definitely.
But I won't work a Friday.
But that's why we wake up every day, to make sure our lives are a little better, our people are much better, and definitely we're able to execute some of the things that we do intend to do. Now today, for me, that's something that is quite eye-catching in Uganda, is the rate at which the cars on the road are reducing. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but have you noticed that there is rarely jam at any hour, by the way?
Yes.
Like there's a bit of taxis on the road and probably essential cars. We're going to get to a point where we have essential people still on the road, not by presidential address, but by default of being able to fit in. So I don't know. It would be selfish of some of us who drive to say it's a good thing, because clearly it's not for the good reasons. People, but I know that we have alternatives for those who are fairly in position, like walking, people who bought bicycles. Have you seen what happens on Bombo Road in the evening? You've seen what happens on Entebbe Road around Clock Tower?
Clock Tower there.
Have you seen what happens to the Nansana bypass there? So there are people, you see big crowds of people trying to find their ways home, and even at this particular hour right now, moving into town. It's quite unsightly, but well, it is what it is. I want to appreciate the fact that people have not chosen to back up. They have chosen to use what they have to still be a part of building their lives. I think it's an awesome thing.
It's an awesome thing, and also I believe that maybe Ugandans have finally started coming to a realization of how things are a bit complicated, and they're changing. We're not as we were maybe say 3-4 years ago. The cost of living are really going up, and you see, sadly, it's not only us as Uganda. There are very many other countries. I will tell you one thing for sure: what is happening in Kenya is quite a very hard story. I was watching some of the reports coming in, and people were coming out and telling you, right now I am having only one meal. I have one meal a day. I have to budget. If I am having breakfast, lunch and dinner are out. If I'm having lunch, well, I could always forget breakfast and dinner. So I must tell you that the prices continue going up, and the further you stay away from reality, I think the harder it will hit you.
You simply keep in pain.
Yes, and the earlier you realize how bad and how serious the situation is, I guess it's very easy for you to come up with solutions, start looking at all the other alternatives to make sure that we try to hang on as, of course, the country and other countries try to, get into a stable position. Otherwise, we are yet to feel all these pinches from all corners. Like, you cannot run away from it, okay?
Well, just a quick one. And I probably want to first of all ask my brother Bob here. Like, in these times, what is that one thing that you think you can let go? Like, something that you think you're attached to, you like so much, but in times like this, if you had a choice, like if you had a couple of choices you want to, you say this I can live without, this I must maintain. Come and buy and buy.
The want becomes a necessity, or you just stick with the necessity?
Sometimes it depends.
Yes.
You see, at this point, even if it's a necessity,
yes,
you may need to unnecessitate it. So it depends. That's why I'm asking, what is that one thing you may unnecessitate, even if you want so much?
Before actually Robert gets into it, I remembered one of my economic classes, the opportunity cost, where you actually have to, make choices. What do I live out? What do I go with? So Robert, tell us, please.
You see, when Felix was asking that, I looked at the smile on his face, and I knew where he's heading to. So my priorities now are what I need, not what I want.
No, I was very particular, Robert.
Can
you name something?
Because
can you name something?
I need.
I can name something for you if you don't want to name.
Felix, tell us.
One time I'm going to get a lot of money in terms of damage and from Felix. I'm going to speak to my advocate.
But again, and I think, Felix, this is a question that we just need to pose out to Ugandans.
Yeah.
It's a rhetorical question. We don't want you to tell us, but sit and think right now. What is it that I want?
Prioritize.
What is it that I need? What can I live without? Or what can I, have to put back into my life?
Lessons.
Yeah. All of that.
He finally said it. He finally said the evening classes. I don't know
how to categorize that. Is that part of the necessities or the wants?
Well, issues of national interest are discussed at the table of men.
That one they can't live out. I can tell you the truth. Uncle Bob can't live out.
Purposes.
He also says that as well. He claims.
But clearly we could.
But let me tell you, Philo,
yes.
there are a number of men I know. Actually, I've come to analyze. Many men leave offices early enough, but then they have somewhere either they sit or they go, and then I think it's also in our cultures that a man is not home, then later on in the evening is when they'll return.
It's a culture, yes.
Yeah, it's a culture.
It will be weird for a man to come home at 4. What are you coming to do?
You see, even in class members, the class monitor is speaking.
I'm not trying to say that. Like, how do you come home at 3?
To do what?
You're home, a man.
Even if you don't do that on a daily, but once in a while. What have you come to do?
The once in a while is
becoming a problem.
A Sunday or Sunday.
That's why you begin moving around here.
I know I cannot convince them otherwise.
Before they know, they are going to ask you to start cutting onions. But that inside because you're just there looming around.
These two gentlemen see things from a different perspective, and so do I. They're kind of men who believe that a man should be home, say like, so what is the ideal time for a man to probably run? Yes.
9.
Come 9, watch news.
For the head boys, 11 midnight. For the newcomers, it can be 7, 8. But for the legends, 2, it's allowed.
Anyway, that is what Felix thinks. I don't know what you think, but whichever time, for as long as you get home back and
the question is, are you a legend? Are you a newcomer? So we know what uniform to give you.
There is a lot happening when it comes to the news plate. A lot of news right here in Uganda. Things are happening every now and then. And of course, when you cross over to other countries on the African continent, my oh my, a lot is still happening. People going through quite a lot. Economies are quite facing some very serious and hard challenges. The political scene is boiling up and about when it comes to outside of the African continent. So we are here to deliver that, and we ensure that you get all the news from all the different perspectives that we are here to present to you. We start off with what is happening right here at home locally. What are we having, Robert?
Well, yesterday the Prime Minister, Robin Anabanja, chaired a macro-sectoral meeting of stakeholders to address issues of Bududa, but also get facts right regarding the Mbale floods that saw about 29 people perish. The Prime Minister, Robin Anabanja, chaired a macro-sector meeting to receive updates from flood disaster situation that occurred, that was Sunday in Mbale City. Development partners attended the meeting and they pledged to intervene and contain the situation. On a directive from President Museveni, Prime Minister Robert Nabanja visited the affected areas on Sunday to assess and coordinate support and rescue efforts. The report presented to the Prime Minister and the development partners indicated that flood displaced an estimate of 150 households, the most affected areas being the Industrial City Division, Northern City Division and Bukonko Sub-County. Government has coordinated efforts to retrieve drowned bodies and restore damaged infrastructure. The Prime Minister was informed that there is need to organize more emergency food and non-food items. The development partners pledged to intervene and mobilize resources. The meeting was attended by the third Deputy Prime Minister, Rukia Nakadama, Agriculture Minister Frank Tumwebaze, Minister for Gender Duties, Kasude Lumumba, and Minister for Security, Jim Muhwezi. Later, the Prime Minister flagged off 12 tons of relief to Kotido district donated by Nalule Minerals. Karamoja sub-region has also been in the spotlight because of food shortage and ravaging this area.
Well, of course, now also government has revealed plans to restructuring the settlement of the people from riverbanks in Mount Elgon region to safer places and planting trees to make the soil firm to stop the continuous landslides. And while addressing the media on the disaster in Kampala, following last weekend's incident in Bali, where 29 people lost their lives, the Minister for Disaster Preparedness, Hilary Onek, said they are to start restoring places where there have been landslides in implementing the disaster risk management plan.
And still on weather extreme, as Mbale is still struggling to retrieve bodies from the flash floods that happened, landslides occurred in Bududa and in the village of Shikamosi, Nangagwe, Bufutas and Bugitongo in Bushika sub-county in Bududa district. According to residents, crack developed in the place 2 years ago. Local leaders disclosed that 287 households were affected in this destruction. Mazana revealed that no life was lost as people evacuated after seeing developing cracks earlier on. However, the landslides have affected many parts of Bududa. By press time, arrangements for immediate aid were coming and the affected people were directed by local leaders to relocate to Bushika market.
Now, 4 candidates have been nominated by the Palisa District Election Officer to take part in the 11th August 2022 Gogonya County Parliamentary by-election. The nominated candidates are Oren Derrick of NRM, Okombi Joseph of NUP, FDC's Michael Omuroni, and Bantalib Isa Talingola, independent candidate, having secured victory last week in Soroti City parliamentary election. The NRM party has now turned their guns to Palisa district, still in the eastern part of the country.
Well, across the African globe and internationally, China has branded a landmark visit to Taiwan by U.S. Speaker Nancy Pelosi as extremely dangerous. It accused Ms. Pelosi, the most senior U.S. politician in 25 years, to visit the island China claims as its own of playing with fire. Those who play with fire will perish by it, Beijing warned in a statement. U.S. National Security spokesperson John Kirby said there was no reason for the visit to become a spurring event for a crisis or conflict. Speaking after she arrived, he reiterated to reporters that the trip was consistent with the U.S. long-standing policy towards China and did not violate the country's sovereignty. As a plane touched down, Chinese state media reported that its military jets were crossing the Taiwan Strait. Taiwan denied those reports at the time, but later said that more than 20 Chinese military planes had entered its air defense zone on Tuesday. China, which sees Taiwan as a breakaway province which will one day unite with it, has previously warned that its armed forces will not stand idly by And within an hour of the plane's arrival, it announced that the People's Liberation Army will conduct a series of live-fire military drills in the air and at sea around China, has restricted its trade with Taiwan amid elevated tensions over the U.S. House of Representatives Speaker Nancy Pelosi's visit to the democratically ruled island. And circling back to the Ukraine-Russia war, the first grain ship to depart Ukraine since Russia invaded has arrived at Turkey's Bosphorus Strait. The Razoni, which is carrying 26,000 tons of corn, will be inspected on Wednesday morning before continuing its journey to Lebanon. Russia has been blockading Ukraine's ports since it invaded in February, intensifying global food shortages. Under the terms of a deal brokered by Turkey and the UN last month, both sides have agreed shipments can resume. Ukraine said its naval vessels will guide cargo ships through waters which have been mined. In his usual evening address on Tuesday, President Volodymyr Zelensky said he wanted to see grain exports become regular again. Our goal now is to have regularity so that when one ship leaves the port, there are other ships as well, both those loading and those approaching the port, he said. And in addition to easing food shortages elsewhere, he hoped exports would encourage Ukrainian farmers to sow seeds for the next season. This is a matter of food security for our country as well, and we are now ensuring that for the next year. Now back here to the African soils, Somalia's Prime Minister Hamza Abdi Bare has named the country's new cabinet, choosing a former Al-Shabaab spokesperson, Mukhtar Robo, as a minister, a move that could either help strengthen the fight against the insurgency or provoke clan clashes. In televised remarks on Tuesday, Bare said Robo, who once had a $5 million United States bounty on his head before he split from Al-Shabaab in 2013, would serve as the minister in charge of the religion. After much deliberation with the president and the public, I have named cabinet ministers who have education and experience, and they will fulfill their duties, Bare said before announcing the cabinet appointees. I asked the parliament to approve the cabinet. Robo, who has been under house arrest for the last 3 years, also used to serve as a deputy leader of Al-Shabaab, the Al-Qaeda-linked armed group. And in December 2018, he was in Somalia's southwest state while campaigning for the regional presidency. The protests that followed were quashed with deadly force, with security forces shooting at least 11 people. Now on the climate and weather news, global heating could become catastrophic for humanity if temperature rises are worse than many predict or cause consequences we have yet to consider. The world needs to start preparing for the bad to worst case scenarios, according to a study by an international team of researchers led by the University of Cambridge. There are plenty of reasons to believe climate change could become catastrophic even at modest levels of warming, said lead author Dr. Luke Kemp from Cambridge's Center for the Study of Existential Risk. Climate change has played a role in every mass extinction event. It has helped fell empires and shaped history. Even the modern world seems adapted to a particular climate niche, he said. Paths to disaster are not limited to the direct impact of high temperatures, such as extreme weather events. Knock-on effects such as financial crisis, conflict, and new disease outbreaks could trigger other calamities and impede recovery from potential disasters such as nuclear war. Kemp and colleagues argue that the consequences of 3 degrees warming and beyond and related extreme risks have been under-examined. Modeling done by the team shows areas of extreme heat, an annual average temperature of over 29 degrees Celsius, could cover 2 billion people by 2070. These areas, not only some of the most densely populated, but also some of the most politically fragile. Well, this is really interesting, seeing that our climate experts are already looking at 2070, considering that we are in 2025. And I think that's really very prudent, which I believe is why they beat us when it comes to how, the kind of relationship we have with climate as Ugandans and as African countries. So again, we are supposed to look into the future. Don't think because you won't be there by 2070, the things that will be happening don't concern you. You really need to fight for your generation.
Well, I have a saying, Philo, and I'm sorry, I'm not going to concur with you because these guys, well, I've learned over time. My beautiful grandmother and grandfather, the late, taught me that you can't be the healer and the healer.
Yes.
You get it? If you look at the cost of we pay for their industrialization in terms of climate, right now you can't talk about how they're preparing for the. I find that as a fallacy.
They're trying to use that as a cover-up for, is that what you think?
Menace.
They have not done totally enough, and not at all. And no wonder you've seen that when you had discussions of climate change, they will facilitate the discussions, they'll call the meetings, they will appoint boards, international what. But how much? Have you seen the emissions in China?
They're crazy.
In the
They're
US?
crazy, yes.
Man, I don't even want these guys to talk about weather.
They shouldn't be the people to preach the gospel. Maybe, I want to believe that they're speaking from a point of experience. They've probably seen how bad it can get, the implications of all this.
You can't be the killer
and the healer.
It doesn't work that way.
Let them give us money for carbon trade. We plant these trees, they pay us.
Yes.
Then in my opinion, I'll say yes, now they're talking sense.
Somebody
Because
has to
we do least damage. They do the great work in spoiling this environment. So we should be benefiting, and it's Africa that can save the world now.
Yes.
Not Europe. They have little left.
The only problem is that we were not in the driving seat. We were not taking that position. So maybe they had to start the conversation and then we come in. But again, climate change is climate change. Whether you like it or not, it's going to affect you in one way or another. But at least I know one thing that won't affect you is the advice that Mr. Bobia has to give you this morning.
Well, this morning I want to start by giving this darling to this darling.
Oh.
Darling, older darling.
Well, I do really, first of all, I love the brown color, honestly, and it's such an eye-catching one for me. But I also love the fact that it is the tamarind fruit drink. The flavor is amazing and it's beautiful. But aside from the flavor, I think it's just important for you to always prioritize your health. At only 1,500 Uganda shillings, you could get yourself this bottle and, try to put your body in such a ready mode. In case any infections come in, your body is ready to fight for you and spare you that cash, seeing that we're in an economy where we're running after any kind of coin that you could get and try to save it. I think it's just very, very essential for you and imperative to prioritize your health. Get yourself an Alleluia bottle. Tamarind could be even the green bottle, the ginger flavor that Mr. Bob is holding there. So maybe, I don't know, maybe much later on today I could grab myself a bottle.
And if you're to offer a gift to anybody, well, Valentine's is very far, but you can
Women
begin
Crash
planning.
Wednesday. Let's see.
Yes, hallelujah, jingati, a carton, or just wrap that very well. And I want to tell you, you'll have loved that person because you wish them to be alive and to fight off a number of diseases. So this is the best gift. What more can you give rather than saving or helping someone to avoid hospital bills, the inconveniences of not feeling fine? We give that advice every morning.
There you go. Show your love and kindness to someone this morning by giving them a bottle of Alleluia drink. We're going for a break. Of course, we'll be listening in to one of the greatest women that have given us some great music. When we get back, we'll be having a conversation about the Kenya elections. Good morning.
Well, Philo, the Kenyan politics is not quite different from the Ugandan. Actually, the style has a bit of relationships. The regional style of politics has relationships. When you go to Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda, Kenya, there are a couple of characteristics that they do share.
Yes.
And if you want to have those looked into economically, politically, religiously, they definitely will bring you back to the same. Because one, you look at all these countries that they are tribal leaning.
Yes.
And that's quite key in all of the politics of the regions. When you go to Tanzania, Kenya, Rwanda, Burundi, Uganda, tribes will come in somehow to determining. When you come to issues of economics, you notice that also they are not very far different. The level of industrialization, the pattern is more or less fairly a little bit like the same. Now, those, when you come actually to the religion, we all almost share the same. They are Catholics, Protestants, most recently you've had Pentecostals and the Islam. Now, you notice that the things that determine political leadership are more or less the same in the area.
Yes.
And that has been the determinant for at least the last 40 years, or from at least independence. Those are the factors that have been majorly capitalized on to find leaders. Now, in particular, Kenya, we have had a sequence of leadership from, it's a generational.
Yes.
It is evident you had, and which is manifesting today. Today there's a manifestation of that generational leadership.
Yes.
Now, this particular election is quite unique in its own way in relation to Kenyan politics, that we are having a bitter test of what is portrayed or what would be betrayal versus loyalty.
You know, someone came out and said Kenyan politics is just full of dynasty and political legacies.
This is what I'm saying, generational.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. And today, in this particular one, they are dealing with a very, very vivid test of trust and or loyalty versus betrayal.
Yes.
And it is the camps both have portrayed that. And it is quite said. One, when you look at the camp of the likes of Ruto, they are portraying that there was betrayal.
Yes.
I don't use the word portraying because I don't have evidence to the latter to that. But also, when you go to the extreme, the camp of the Ndugurela Odinga, they're simply saying that for them, they are as a result of maintaining a promise. If you remember the handshake that happened when there was a re-election some time back, and there was a promise again.
Yes.
Loyalty versus issues of
the political dynasties and legacies. Well, to hear from you, Robert, now when we speak about Uhuru Kenyatta, the man who is leaving, you know, the State House and then moving on to other things which we haven't yet established, I will tell you that there are very many mixed reactions during his period. Okay, there is a lot that has happened in the Kenyan economy. I will tell you that at least for the last years during his time as the president, he was focusing majorly on infrastructure development, but also these came at such a heavy price. There was a lot of debt that was taken out, and Kenyans are really disturbed by this debt. But then also there is a fraction of Kenyans who believe that, well, I mean, at the end of the day, we have to look at the infrastructure development and all that. So we need to look at the good side. But then also during his period of time, I must tell you that corruption cases were on the craze, especially in Kenyan counties. And even during his time, we did have see impeachments, even the governor himself inclusive. Now, you know, if you were a Kenyan, how would you rate this man? Do you think he would leave such a bitter taste in your mouth? Or he's a man that you try to understand, he did what he could and that's it? I mean, these are challenges that come with a responsibility like that. Do you think that he handled the country quite in an awesome manner, or he's left it quite in drenches?
First, I want to congratulate all Kenyans, even before they go, that is I think Tuesday next week, to cast their vote, because this is going to be the third general election after they promulgated their constitution, that is of 2010.
Yes.
They have had change of power through election. That is something we must congratulate them. Of course, notwithstanding the challenges that they had, previously, but I think they learned from their mistakes, and we hope they will do. Now, when it comes to the outgoing president, Felix used a word and said, Africa, we're more or less similar. Our politics, our governance. Which country? Tell me in East Africa, or even in Sub-Saharan, where corruption is not. You know? It's just that the indexes will vary.
Yes.
Yeah? But corruption is there. Tell me which country in Africa. The difference is that these ones will have change of power.
Although for Kenya, the corruption is really high. At one point, the President Uhuru Kenyatta was addressing the people when they were talking about this issue, and the way he responded to them, it looked like he was giving up. You know, the corruption was way above him. He couldn't handle it. The issue was really getting out of his hand.
This is what some countries do. Some choose to speak about it. Some choose not to and maintain a clean sheet. But by and large, you find it's the same problem. He has had a tough time, yes, in issues of corruption.
Yes.
He has had a tough time that during this, we've had so much economic shocks. You have COVID-19, global, even before COVID-19. You see, the world was moving at a level where economy. He has had a problem of population, you know, unemployment, just like other countries do. Increased population leading to unemployment. So when I want to rank him, I would say he has done what he should have done in his time. However, also, we still have issues of, you know, royalty, you get it?
Yes.
Lacking the will because of certain encumbrances, that even if you want, some of our leaders are not ready to sacrifice their own. And when you look at Kenyan scandals, you know, you'll find this governor, how he got there. So these are the problems that many African countries or African leaders must agree to address.
Yes.
Must agree to address. And I think for Kenya it's better because, you know, you have your 2 terms and you're not returning, you know. So whatever you do will be for another person to go with, different from other countries. But I want to say, in my honest opinion, he did what he did, and I feel mostly in the field of infrastructure, he made some tremendous work and maintaining the country to ensure that, you know, Kenyans, if you look at them, contrary to Ugandans in one way or the other, if you remember the election that went bad, there was a bit who has spent most of his time looking for reconciliation, you know, mending, seeing that he lives a Kenya that is going in an election where tempers are not faring as it was. And I think that is one of the things that I want to commend him for.
Well, there you go. Now, speaking of the elections, I mean, they are around the corner, but also I want maybe to just put this one out there, Felix, before we get into it. And maybe we need to find out the reason. When it comes to the youth vote, it's very important for any country because we know that the biggest percentage of the population, in especially in the East African region, is the youth. Now, when you go back to 2017, the youth vote contributed close to 50%.
Sure.
Okay, but now in 2022, it is expected to, you know, contribute to about 38.9%. Now, there is quite a very big decline. The question here would be, why are we seeing this decline? Could we say that the youth are really very frustrated? You know, the economy is not doing well, unemployment and all these other issues. Is that what we are looking at that is actually accounting for the decline?
Actually, what you just said should be the reason for them to engage more.
Yes.
Absent of the reverse. But what I think is it's because of the presented candidates. The options they have are simply a representation of the continued old guards. The 2 major contestants in this particular election are not anew in politics. And I want to stream directly from the likes of Raila Odinga.
Yes.
He has been at it for the last about 25 years. He contested with the likes of Moi, Kibaki.
The man has really wanted this
and now
position.
with Kenyatta.
Yes.
So I feel that his representation doesn't represent, he's much of anything new to them.
Yes.
Now, and this is why guys like Ruto came in with a Kwanza slogan, hustler slogan. Now, because he knew that he had to get a catchment to lure the youth to him. Ruto has continuously talked about hustler. He represents the marginalized, the poor people,
Yes.
like generally the word hustler. And no wonder he uses a wheelbarrow as one of his signs
Yes.
when he's doing the campaigns. Nevertheless, even him saying that has not contributed enough to lure the youth towards him, because tell you what, he has served with the government for 10 years. Now, the same government that is being accused of the things you've just said in terms of absence of jobs, poor administration, or particularly corruption, you know, and continuous abuse of human rights, all these things. As I've said, the people represented today, we don't see a new face, and I can give a small comparison. When you go to countries like Tanzania, later on I'll come to Uganda, the late Babalao Magufuli, the reason why the Chama cha Mapinduzi chose to change face, to bring into play, even when they had candidates who had been around, into someone who was not directly in the face of the people, was because of such reasons, that the numbers of people who were interested in the voting had tremendously reduced, because they were seeing a Philomena again and again and again and again. So they needed to bring in someone afresh. You saw the effect of the NUP in this country.
Yes.
During the election. Thank God we're in COVID. But imagine if it was a full blast, with how youth used to act, because you see, something new gives a new, what Robert earlier called vibe.
Yes.
But for us, vibe is a very different, but it gives a whole new feel to the political practices.
Yes.
This is absent in Kenya. You get it?
Yes.
So when you ask about the youth representation, youth activeness, in my opinion, it is informed by the absence of something new on the faces of Kenyans. Because the promises Ndugu Ruto is bringing, he has been in government. The question they'll ask him, what went wrong for you not to implement? Then when you bring a senior citizen, Mr. Raila,
Yes.
the story is written all over. It is that you have been at it again and again and again and again. So what anew are you promising? But lastly about that, we must also agree that this is the worst time a country like Kenya can conduct elections. Why am I saying it's among the worst times? One, the political situation has no relevance towards economic emancipation.
Yes.
And the same is not necessarily a manufacture of the politics. It is a manufacture of, or it is a product of the general life being that is informed by things like COVID-19, the post-COVID-19 effects.
Yes.
Later on also the international scourge in relation to Russia and Ukraine. So this is the worst time to interest anyone in politics, because one, economies are terribly bad, but also and the leaders, mostly in third world countries, can't do much because these are not things they are in control of. So it's understandable when you see youth neglecting to focus on things that help them lately.
Okay, thank you so much, Felix. Well, right now we are going to be joined, or we are joined already by Vincent Makori from Voice of America live with us here on Zoom. Good morning, sir. Thank you for joining us. Well, thank you for joining us this morning and also being able to give us an insight of what is happening there in Kenya. But going straight to the point, maybe briefly, could you tell us the overview of the contenders for the presidential position, their running mates, and also maybe their manifestos and how this is relevant to the Kenyan economy? Well, sorry for the abruptions right there, but we'll be sorting it out as, of course, we go on. But for now, we'll still be having the discussion, and maybe to hear from you, Robert, talking about the women in politics, especially when it comes to these 2022, Kenyan elections. I'll be very specific. There is one lady who is driving the media and the Kenyan people crazy, and that is Martha Karua. Now, this is the running mate of Raila Odinga, who seems to be the preferred candidate by even the current president of Kenya. And let me tell you something. If Raila takes this position come 9th of August, definitely Martha coming in as the vice president, this is going to be the highest female position ever had in the history of Kenya. But would you say that her being a running mate has quite an influence on the politics in Kenya? Her, of course, by the nature that she's a lady, do you think there is a women influence on the Kenyan elections because of all this?
Well, globally, I think even away from Kenya, the world has come to realize that women play a great impact in politics. Look at United States of America. When actually Joe Biden had to select, here we see Kamara. When you come back to Uganda, look at how far women in our politics.
Yes.
We have a vice president that is a woman. Go to Tanzania, we have a whole president who was a vice president. So the vote of the women in this 21st century matters a lot, and them getting positions.
Yes.
Because slowly by slowly, the position of women, they have been elevated. You find that even in the United States, there came a time when women were not voting. Today, they are voting. So in every part of this country, and when you look at global statistics, I'm trying only even to move away from Kenya,
yes,
you'll find that there are very few countries I know of where the population of men outnumbers the population of women.
Yes.
And it's only natural usually to identify with someone with whom you have so many in resemblance. So for Kenya, Kenya has produced a number of well-empowered women from the fields of education, in other influential positions away from politics. So you must look at this group. That if you're to make a breakthrough in this group, then what is very, very important is what position of the national cake are you giving them? Do they see themselves in your administration? Do they feel that there's someone who is going to address their issues and bring them to perfection as they would have wanted?
Yes.
Because yes, they would feel a man could do that as well. But this is a fellow woman. And when you look at the person chosen, this is a person who has also a political lineage of involvement,
yes,
and serving. So to me, I believe for any smart politician in this century, you must factor in the issue of women. And I don't know how William Ruto looks at this, but of course, this also will apply to how the voters view this. Remember, Kenya politics, unlike I want to say like Uganda, also has the issue of regions.
Yes.
Away from that traditional legacy of about two families. You have that, but it also has that regional. So this lady, what I want to believe, was not only chosen because she's a woman, but also you look at, for Kenya, look at how have you brought in the Kikuyus, how have you brought in these at the table to feel closer. And really, I must say, it has a great impact in the politics of any country now, and most of particular for Kenya.
Well, Felix, looking at the Kenyan elections, we know that Kenya as a country also has quite a position when it comes to Africa, but the elections specifically, do they matter to Uganda? Do they matter to Africa? Is there one way they will affect us? Could it be a good, if yes, how? Is it a good way? Is it in a bad way? Do we actually have to be on the lookout to see who is coming in, how all these elections are going to go on until we finally have or see their next president?
Yeah, what a question. I'll tell you that by virtue of being a member of the East African community, that is readily enough. That's one. So all the activities of any member state good, bad, the ugly, they will definitely affect all of us as member states. I can give you an example. Remember what happened with Rwanda when they closed their borders?
Yes.
We had sort of like challenges for the last 2 or 3 years, whatever it was at the time. So by the virtue of being member states of this African community, we will be affected. But not forgetting that Kenya is at the heart of the import and export sector of this country. Why? Uganda being a landlocked country. We access much of our produces that we either export or import from countries that have direct access to the seaports. So that is it. But secondly, because we share borders, it means that the rate of interstate transactions can only be guaranteed by the existence of formidable political systems for both countries. 2007, if you remember what happened in Nairobi, Kenya, in the post-election violence, if you remember.
Yes.
You remember how we had no fuel, you know, we had to, you remember, it was quite a stampede.
Well, clearly I get you. For now, we're going to also be having a conversation with Mr. Vincent Makori. Thank you for joining us once again, and I hope this time round we can have some efficient communication.
It's a pleasure.
Well, maybe to head into straight to the point, could you briefly give us an overview of who is standing for the presidential position in Kenya, their running mates, and maybe also their respective manifestos and how they probably relate to the Kenyans as we stand right now?
Yes, of course, we have the top contenders, Raila Odinga and William Ruto. And of course, we have 2 other candidates, although they are not considered as very significant, Professor George Wajakoya and a gentleman by name Maure. Now, for the 2 top ones who people are really focusing on, when you look at their manifestos, you know, the difference is really very, very little, because each of them is promising pretty much the same things that people are yearning for. For example, universal health for Kenyans. They're looking to create job opportunities for the youth of Kenya. And also, of course, to ensure that there is development in all sectors. So each of them is promising these things, of course, in different flavors, and trying to reach the masses, trying to reach the voters in different ways. Of course, they do label their slogans, they do label their manifestos differently. But when you look at the wordings, when you look at, in fact, the content, the promises are exactly the same.
Well, also moving into the political system in Kenya, we have over time come seeing dynasties and all these political legacies. And if you could briefly give us an insight, how do these influence Kenya's elections? Because Kenya elections and politics in general, because as we stand right now, we know that Uhuru Kenyatta is definitely vouching for Raila Odinga, and these are generational leaders. And of course, we cannot fail to talk about Ruto, who we know that is also trying to create his own generation. But how do all these political dynasties and legacies influence Kenya's elections and politics in general?
Yes, you know, the idea that Kenya's political system is a system of dynasties is kind of, to some degree, something that has been politicized, and it all depends on how you interpret this. Well, of course, Raila Odinga comes from a family that has been in the system for quite a while, but again, in the opposition to a large extent, if you go back into the history of this country's politics. Uhuru Kenyatta is the son of the first president. But you've got to realize that in between, there have been 2 presidents who did not come from any so-called political dynasty. President Daniel Arap Moi, who ruled this country for over 24 years, and President Mwai Kibaki, who actually came in after President Moi. So the country hasn't been ruled by dynasties, but this was a weapon that was being used, or has been used, by Mr. William Ruto to try, of course, and thrust himself into the presidency by casting the 2, Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta, as members of a dynasty, because of their father's background. But of course, there has been a big gap in between when their fathers were in government. Raila's father, in fact, was the vice president to Jomo Kenyatta way in the 60s after Kenya attained independence. And that only lasted a few years. And he was cast out of the political system into, opposition, and he never really, got into government until he died. But actually, the politics of this country is to a large extent determined by the ethnic arithmetic of this country. It is all about the numbers, and this has been the bane of the democratic, process in the country. In that it's all about those who have behind them the biggest ethnic community, and they use that as a political capital to lure the rest of the country to come and join them in order to ascend to the position of political power. Right now, if you look back just a few years, the president of this country, who ruled for over 24 years, came from the community called the Kalenjin, and the other presidents, other than that, have all come from the community known as the Kikuyu. Kenya has been ruled by presidents from only two communities, the Kikuyu and the Kalenjin. That is since independence, over 50 years ago. So the biggest conversation is not about any dynasty, actually. It's about two ethnic communities out of over 35 monopolizing the presidency of this country.
Well, thank you so much. Maybe before we get to the final question, looking at the relationship between Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta, and then between Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto, there's been quite a talk of betrayal. We know that back in 2017, Uhuru Kenyatta did apparently, I don't know how true this is, but he made a promise to hand over power after his time, of course, to hand over power to William Ruto. But looking at the change of events right now, he's fronting Raila Odinga, a man he's been locking horns with for over 10 years. What changed? How did they get here?
Yes. Well, he did actually promise him that after his presidency, he's going to endorse him as his deputy. Yes. And you have to remember that William Ruto actually was in the same team as Raila Odinga in the previous election that led to the chaos in 2007. You just have to remember that to begin with. So these were really close friends, political allies. Kenyatta was on the opposite side of Ruto and Raila Odinga. But what happened is that because of remember the infamous, the ICC case, which came up after the violence in Kenya, brought William Ruto and Kenyatta together. And actually, it is because of the ICC case in The Hague that the two of them started working together against Raila Odinga, who they perceived as having really kind of set them up to some degree to be sent to The Hague. So when they forged that strong alliance and eventually won the election, and became, the leaders of this country. Of course, there was that promise. The two of them developed a very strong relationship. It was called a bromance. They were just like twins. But if you go by what President Kenyatta has been saying, President Kenyatta says that once they got into power, especially soon after the first term, it looked like William Ruto was not focused on helping him to run the country, but it became like an opposition within his government because he was so focused on his ambition to become president that he engaged immediately into campaigns immediately after the election and probably even sometime within the first term of their presidency. He was going all around the country, campaigning for his 2022 run instead of deputizing the president, instead of helping him run the country. So President Kenyatta says, because of that, he felt that the deputy that he hoped to have endorsed for presidency was undermining him instead of waiting for his time in the 2022 election period to be endorsed for presidency. But he was focused on campaigning for himself to the detriment of helping to run the country with him. And then from Kenyatta's own account, he says, when Raila Odinga, who, remember, claimed, it is so believed that was denied his victory in the last election, which was nullified, remember, by the Supreme Court of Kenya because there were irregularities, he reached out to the president and decided to work with him, especially to restore peace in the country. President of Kenya, Uhuru Kenyatta, says Uhuru Kenyatta, in fact, rather Raila Odinga, helped him to kind of stabilize the country and even bring focus more to the development of the country, while his own deputy was busy undermining him. His own deputy was busy campaigning for himself, and therefore it kind of became, if you can consider, like a marriage where people make all these wonderful promises, but one partner becomes unfaithful and kind of does not maintain the vows. So of course the other one might feel compelled to break the vows that they made years ago. So that is the scenario. Really, it's all about the betrayal to some, or to Kenyatta himself. Is not him betraying William Ruto, but he insists William Ruto betrayed him by rather by not being faithful to his position as a deputy president, but instead acting like an opposition within the government, and as to make it matters worse, as his own deputy.
Also ask something else, the question is the aftermath, the fear for most of us as member states of the East African community is the fear to see a replication of what happened in 2007, knowing that Raila Odinga is quite strong and so is Ruto, because from the opinion polls we do see that at least they are holding a fair deal of the electorate. We're looking at who will not take the seat and how, in your opinion, will it be handled post-election is our biggest concern, because Kenya is at the heart of at least the East African community. What comment would you make about the post, or what expectation? Do we see calmness, or do we see something quite eruptive in this particular election?
Well, there's a lot of tension. There's a lot of tension in some quarters, and for good reason. The deputy president of Kenya, who is the top contender alongside Raila Odinga, actually in the last few days has been accusing the president of Kenya, Uhuru Kenyatta, as planning to disrupt the elections. He has even at some point actually claimed that the president is threatening his life, the lives of his family members. Now, for some, this is not a very comforting thing to hear, because when you plant these things in the minds of people, especially your supporters, and claim that I'm going to win this election, but there's a plan to disrupt the election, there's a plan to steal this election from me, there's a plan to make sure that the person the president supports wins the election, you are creating a scenario where your supporters are convinced that if you lose this election, it is because some shenanigans have been done. So there's a likely scenario that if William Ruto loses, for example, his supporters could easily get on the streets, and probably, we don't know what it could be, if it could be just mere demonstrations or if there could be violence. But basically, a great number of, especially the youth that I've spoken to, say they have no appetite for violence. Now, on the Raila side, on the Raila's side of the political aisle, they seem to be confident to win. I haven't had any claim of potential election irregularities, but the worrying thing is that kind of narrative, especially from the other side, that there is a plan to disrupt the election by the president himself, who is seen, of course, as an extension of Raila Odinga. So because of that, and because of the history of Kenya, there is actually reasonable concern that there could be some form of not necessarily a scenario like that of 2007, but some form of maybe protest or some demonstration. But everybody's saying that this time around, they really have no appetite for the kind of violence that we saw in 2007.
Well, thank you so much, Ndugu Makori, for the insights. And we can only hope and pray that things go on peaceful. We really don't want any chaos. It doesn't look good on us as a region.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Well, there you go. We can only hope again that things happen seamless and the man steps aside and the next one comes in peace and we move.
Well, that will also depend on the final day, how elections are carried.
Yes.
Because their campaigns have not really been violent, to
Yes.
say. And we want to thank the Kenyans there. But usually it is the voting, what happens on the voting day, and what is announced. You know, that is where, if you've not had a tough time during campaigns, you've moved on smoothly, then how the Independent Electoral Commission of Kenya is going to handle that voting day. And
The voting day and the post voting.
And
yes.
finally the outcomes. If you remember the other previous election that was very controversial, you saw how the president was sworn in, you know, in a funny ceremony
yes.
and that drama. So how you handle? There's no ballot stuffing, everything is put in place. Then finally, is the winner, because elections have 3 phases. You have the campaigns, you have the voting, and most critical, the announcement of the winner.
A lot of tension and pressure over there in Kenya. Felix, you're saying something?
Just for me, lastly, is that I think the Kenyans this time round have picked on a classical English saying that beaten once, shy
Yes,
twice, definitely,
yes.
or twice shy, and they wouldn't want to get. 2007 was nasty. It saw the head of state being dragged to the ICC, if you
Yes.
remember. A couple of ministers, then cabinets, and it was a threatening genocide if it wasn't well handled. And the impact around Kenya and the healing of the wounds that we saw spring from this election, still, some of them are quite eminent up till today.
Yes.
So that's why I say I think they learned the story, or the classical saying that beaten once, twice shy.
9th August is the day when the elections will be happening to see and witness who the next president of Kenya will be. We hope all goes on well. That's it from this morning's discussion. We'll be looking into the papers shortly.
A World Cup in the desert? The first one in the Middle East. The first to be held at the end of the year? That's crazy. Get ready for spectacular moves. High-flying saves. Unbelievable goals. Out of this world celebration.
Would you believe it? What a moment here!
All 64 matches live. That's over 5,000 action-packed minutes of the FIFA 2022 World Cup Qatar. Now that's crazy. Catch all the action only on SuperSport, your world of champions. On Go TV. Love it.
Enjoy more GBs for the same price on Airtel. Kirabo using to Gabane. We have increased GBs across all your favorite packs. Now, 4 GB is at 10,000 shillings and 10.5 GB at 22,500 shillings, all valid for a week. For the heavy data users, enjoy 24 GB at 50,000 shillings and 50 GB at 100,000 shillings, all valid for a month. Dial *175# or use the My Airtel app to buy these and more affordable weekly and monthly data bundles on Airtel, the smartphone network.
The Tales of Kasozi, brought to you by Uganda Communications Commission.
Hello?
Hello?
This is Kasozi. How can I help you?
Hey, Kasozi, my brother. Long time. We last met when we were at campus. It's been a while, but you are the person I'm looking for.
Campus? Really?
Hey, you don't remember me?
Okay, so how can I help you?
I'm stuck in Gulu making millions and I need to urgently send money to my sick mother. But I can't find any mobile money agent near me. I've sent the money to your phone, as you can see the message. It might take a few minutes to come through, but I urgently need you to send the money to my mother. Let me send you her number and you send it to her chap.
My friend, I'm afraid your mom is going to die.
What?
Because I don't know you, I never went to campus, and I'm also in Gulu. So can we meet at CPS, we talk about it?
Stay tuned for what Kasozi does next.
Tofera, refrain from unnecessary engagement with strangers over the phone. This message is powered by the Uganda Communications Commission.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, in the Daily Monitor this morning, we start off the big headline, 29 dead, 7 missing in Mbale city floods. And of course, still counting losses as Saturday night to downpour that left quite very many institutions. I'm talking about schools, homes, gardens and roads in the Elgon region in ruins, with of course officials turning the heat on government over disaster preparedness. Now, government comes out to say that it will pay families of the affected about 5 million Uganda shillings. Well, do not also miss out on that full story. And again, government unveils a 300 billion Uganda shillings plan to end hunger. Another story you ought to get in the Daily Monitor. Chief Justice to give keynote speech at Monitor lecture, and also looking at the big and great win from Kiplimo, who smashed the Commonwealth Games record. Again, another interesting one for you in the Daily Monitor this morning.
Now, in the new vision, how to check whether your device is genuine. UCC to switch off 6 million fake phones. Now, new test for driving permit seekers, and awards winner of Bride and Groom Expo named. But the borders government drops registration fees, but also water still raging 3 days after disaster that is in this side of Busoga region. But inside Philo, we do look at Malawi does invite Ugandans to trade and invest in Malawi and preserve knowledge. Now, of course, today in history, we're looking at Prince Mutebi visits home and first Saudi Arabian woman competes in Olympics.
Crossing over to this sports section, Tukamhewa medal hope from East Coast. Now, this captain here was really captured, pounding this Irishman Hale in the round of 32. And I must tell you that the boxing is quite taking on a rail. Now, led in the fray after a 5-day wait in which 3 of her teammates have been eliminated, Teddy Nachimuli eventually starts a campaign at the National Exhibition Center in Birmingham. And also, don't miss out on the Commonwealth Games, yesterday's results, and of course, this is today's quarterfinal fixtures as well. So you ought to catch up on all that. But also, Star Chesang bids to retain 10,000-meter title. And crossing over to the swimming section, swimmers happy with new times reputations in relays at Games. Again, this is still in relation to the Commonwealth Games 2022. And for those of you who like the adrenaline, for the Formula One final lap, 4-time world champion Sebastian Vettel will retire at the end of the 2022 season. He announced after being hailed as one of the greats. I must tell you that the Aston Martin fans, well, this I don't think it sat well with them, but it is what it is.
Well, of course, in New Vision Sports, we're looking at Tukamhewa and Nachimuli in the ring. But also, I'll fight to keep my gold. Who say this and which gold they'll be keeping? You will be getting this when you get yourself copies of the Daily.
Well, in the Daily Nation this morning, we're still looking at Decision 2022, 5 days to the elections. Raila favorite to win, says a poll. And politicians must not end the high crusades. Again, all that in the Daily Nation. First round victory depends on 7% undecided voters. We're looking at 49% for Raila, 41% for William Ruto okay? And this is according to the Nation Media Group poll. 5 days to the general elections. Next Tuesday, we should be saying who is who, and also showing you opinion polls in the last week. The percentages are also over there in the Daily Nation, so make sure you grab yourself a copy. And of course, as we are headed towards the D-Day, UBC TV is here to give you all the updates in what will be coming out, you know, as Kenyans prepare to be elected, who is going to be the president, all the tension that is building up, and what's happening in all the counties and the surrounding areas. We'll be giving you all these updates live. Our reporter is over there on the ground to fetch us the details and many, many more. But crossing over to the traffic section this morning, focusing on areas coming in from Seta all the way to Boyogerere, all the way to Chireka, crossing over to, you know, Banda, Nakawa, Lugogo as you headed to the city center is what I want to look at this morning. And I must say that the traffic is actually quite very heavy, especially on this road. Naturally, this one is a very busy road because we have cars coming in from the border, very heavy trucks. So I think it is a bit expected to see traffic on these for the most part of the day and night. So if you're coming in from Seta, I must say that you need to be ready for certain traffic hiccups and here and there, as shown by the orange spots. And of course, as you're crossing over to Namamve, the situation doesn't become any better. Matter of fact, it becomes worse as you go on and on because we are seeing the traffic or the orange parts getting heavier by the minute. So this is something you need to actually get ready for. Now, looking at this red stretch over here, it's taking up for the biggest part of the road as you're headed towards Boyogere. And when you finally get to Boyogere Junction, I must say that the traffic becomes heavier as shown by the red. Now, red actually shows you the intensity of the traffic, especially in this given area. So this one is something that you need to be expecting as, of course, you're headed to the city center. Well away from Boyogere and you're headed towards Chireka. Chireka town center is very busy this morning, and also seeing the roads that are bringing in more cars onto the main road. We are looking at Kamali Road over here, which is quite a very free one. Of course, as you're getting closer to the main road, the story changes, the traffic starts becoming heavier. We also have cars and other road users coming in from Namugongo Road trying to join Chireka Shopping Center over here. But for the biggest part of this road, it's not really a big problem. However, when you get to Chireka Shopping Center, you need to get to know that the traffic over there is actually very hard. Now, all the way as you're headed towards Banda, there could be a few, traffic buildups here and there, as shown by this orange stretch. When you get to Banda, again, it's a different story that you'll be telling because the traffic becomes heavier, and we have cars coming in from Banda Close, we have cars coming in from Chambogo, and as they're trying to join the road, they make the traffic here very intense, so it will be hard for you to navigate. You could just have to exercise a little bit of patience as you're joining the main road. All the way to Nakawa, traffic hiccups here and there, but it should be a smooth ride, at least for the biggest part of it. And of course, as you're continuing all the way till Lugogo, it shouldn't be a problem. However, when you get to Nakawa here, the junction where we have cars coming in from Tinda Road, cars coming in from Chinawataka, and also cars coming in from Banda, all the way, the traffic becomes intense. The red is very evident of that. The orange is very evident of that. The traffic keeps building, especially for the cars that are leaving this very specific spot headed back towards Banda. The traffic could be building up any minute. But if you're getting into the city center, the red line is here to warn you and let you know that you're in for quite a very serious and very heavy ride this morning. All the way, of course, as you're headed to the Kampala Ginger Highway, again, the traffic is building up here and there as you're getting into the city center and as you're leaving the city center. These arrows clearly mark that. So I could say this road, for the biggest part of it, it's quite very busy this morning. And as you're headed towards Ministry of Internal Affairs, it's chaotic over there. The reds are very dominant. They're influencing a lot of traffic here, and again, something that you need to be wary of, as of course you're also headed towards Yusuf Lule Road. That is if you're planning on taking the Nile Avenue. It's not any clear, and access road, cars coming in from Makindye Division, cars coming in from Bukasa, all these areas. This access road is really very busy because of that. And as you're headed towards all the way to Kampala Road, I could say that the traffic does not get any better. We do have some areas that are really stack up with all these cars, motorists, and maybe pedestrians. So as you can see, it's quite a busy road this morning. So as you're headed towards Kampala, all the way from Seta, all the way from Boyogere, Chireka, Lugogo, Nakawa, you may not survive this one, but you have to be a little bit patient and stick in that traffic, and also make sure that you are a responsible road user. We're seeing changes in our weather patterns, so I will keep telling you this every single day until you become a disciplined road user. At the end of the day, it helps you and me, and respect all the rest of other road users, because we do have quite a number of them. That's it from the traffic updates this morning. Well, you get indeed to be ready for the GMU agenda, and Robert will be coming in for that. And also look out for some sports updates that will be coming in from the man himself, not Kirabo, Nyonyintono, but Ruben, who will be giving you that. We also do have a reporter who is live in Birmingham, John Barnes, and they should be telling us what's happening. I'm really happy about Uganda's performance. They're really doing quite well in a several section of all the sports. We're having quite an influence. So he'll be telling us what's happening there, especially when it comes to the ongoing Commonwealth Games, how Uganda as a country is faring, versus other East African regions. So watch out and look out for that as well in our sports updates much later on. And be part of the Good Morning Uganda show entirely. And we're also running on our socials. Make sure you get us through those, and we're streaming live as well, so do not miss that. I will leave it at that. Have a wonderful, productive, and great Wednesday morning. My name is Philomena. Mastiko. Good Morning Uganda continues shortly after this.
Of the day on UBC.
You can only become a leader when there are problems.
Behind the headlines.
So what are we federating?
Whether rats from another country can be, somebody must be there to hold everybody accountable.
Every Wednesday at 10 p.m.
First of all, we as elites of Uganda, we have made Museveni the issue. I can tell Museveni is not the problem of Uganda. The problems of Uganda are much deeper. We can change the next 20 presidents and we'll still be this roundabout.
Was brought to you by
Simply make a small deposit of 99k and pay the balance mpola. You can pay in daily, weekly, or even monthly installments while you enjoy your new phone. So what are you doing today? Visit any MTN shop near you and get the MTN cupboard super easy.
The Corporate Games Season 2022-2023 is here. Don't miss lots of fun and networking. 12 sports disciplines and over 2,000 participants with over 40 corporate companies in one place. This happens every first Sunday of every month. For more information, contact info@corporategamesug.com or visit our website www.corporategamesug.com, or you can call us on 0700-339-048 or 0785-642-953. Don't miss on Sunday, 7th August of 2022 at Chambogo University. The Corporate Games, inspiring corporates through sports.
Every waking day is a reminder just how beautiful this, our land, truly is. The kind of beauty that you can only find here, in the lush green all around us and the wondrous sights within. It's in the distinct aroma of our cooking, to the taste of food that takes you on a journey, in the sound of homecoming and the sound of Mother Earth. In the magnificence we find on our travels and the exciting moments we experience. Ours is the kind of beauty that comes in all things big and small. All we have to do is awaken our senses and truly enjoy what's uniquely ours. Explore Uganda, the pearl of Africa.
Oh, Susan, I want to propose to Rose. Yes, and this time I am serious.
Have you guys had sex?
Duh, of course.
And have you had sex without using condoms?
Hey, nga you're curious.
I'm more concerned. Are you having sex with other people?
Hey, hello, is this an interview or what?
No, just things you should think about. Do you know Rose's HIV status?
Okay, this is serious. Should I be worried?
It is actually serious. Do you know your HIV status?
I think I am safe. Many times we get into situations that put us at risk of HIV. However, the first step to ending HIV is getting tested and knowing your results.
It's Time Up HIV. Call 0800-211-046 or text 8080 toll-free for more information about how to prevent HIV.
This message is brought to you by Ministry of Health with support from USAID.
Welcome to English in a Minute. Whitewash is a liquid used for painting things, like walls and fences.
Whitewash.
Okay, the boss just told me the company is only cutting a few jobs. She said not to worry.
How is that supposed to make me feel better? Steve just got fired today.
But she said the company is fine.
Sounds like she's trying to whitewash the problem.
When you whitewash something, you cover its natural condition with whiteness. Whitewash can make surfaces look clean. But in conversation, whitewashing means to make something wrong or illegal look okay. It is a way of hiding a truth or covering up unpleasant facts. And that's English in a Minute.
Live from Now Avenue in UBC Studios. This is Good Morning Uganda.
A bright morning looking outside my window, and that makes it quite conducive for you to come to work this morning. Thank you so very much for keeping it with us here on Good Morning Uganda agenda. Once again, I'm Robert Kirabo Nyonyintono, and this morning we are going to be discussing another interesting topic. This is externalization of labor. We want to look at opportunities and challenges. Now, externalization of labor has been around for some time here in Uganda, right, I think, from the days of the Second World War, where I had even Ugandans go to fight for other countries. Maybe this wasn't about being paid, but later we saw many Ugandans working in various parts of this world. However, we are looking at a time when government of Uganda formalized it, and that is when it came up with bilateral agreements. That is for domestic workers, for some country in the Middle East, which is Saudi Arabia. And also, other countries within here came up with proper regulation. However, over time,